You're listening to the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, and this is episode number 61. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, where we explore practical and actionable steps to help you manifest the greatness that you already possess deep inside. And before we get started today, I wanted to just make sure that everyone is aware that we had a fantastic interview with Serba Tucker, the founder of SerbaFit. The man is phenomenal. He can take a workout routine and make it the most fun under the sun. I mean, the man is amazing. It's really, really not only inspirational and motivational to kind of see what he's been able to do and how he's been able to transform a workout into a play routine to keep you excited, to keep you looking forward to your training sessions, and to keep you really enjoying the growth process. Please check out that episode, that interview with Serba Tucker. It's fantastic. Now, on to today's episode. Now, today's episode is entitled Growth Through Pain and Disappointment. And I wanted to talk about this because a lot of times when you go through something that is excruciatingly painful, especially if it's perhaps something that happened between you and someone you trusted, someone you looked up to, or someone you just always thought had your best interests at heart, and suddenly they do something that causes you a lot of pain, a lot of disappointment, and a lot of frustration, that can really put you in a dark space. And what I wanted to talk about today is that what we choose to do with that experience ultimately determines whether or not we are going to grow from it or we're going to let it really negatively impact where we go from there. And it can cut both ways. It really depends on how you choose to look at the situation, to look at what has happened, and how you choose to process it and address it. So the first thing I want everyone to think about is that when we have a set of a hierarchy of values, and we think that this is the most important. If we think integrity is super important, if we think honesty is super important, if we have this set of values, we can assume that everyone else does too. And that is probably not I mean, we want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but let's be honest. Not everybody thinks the way we do, right? Not everybody's going to have those same hierarchy of values that you do. And when you expect people to act in a reciprocal fashion, you can set yourself up to be disappointed. Now, this is not to say that we shouldn't be trusting people. And as Serba Tucker puts it in his episode, Lead with Love, you got to listen to it. I'll mention it again. Listen to that episode. But if we lead with love, as he suggests, we're always entering a situation with the best intent. We have absolutely the best intent in mind. We would like things to move forward in a way that is amenable to everyone, and we really wish for an outcome that everybody is happy for. If that's our approach and we go into a situation expecting the other person to think that too, and they don't, that can hurt, especially like I said, if it's someone you really trust, someone really close to you. Could be like a really good friend you trust, a family member, someone you look up to, something like that. That can hurt. That can really hurt. Now, what we choose to do with that, like I was saying before, that's where things can really make a major difference. That's where things can change. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is how we can look at these situations and how we can leverage them and grow from them, and what we can look for in the situations specifically that are going to help us move forward and that are going to help keep us growing. The first thing I would like everyone to remember is that when we're in a situation like that, we find ourselves dumbfounded by what we're experiencing. Just like, what's happening? How can they think this way? Man, this hurts. What's going on? Remember that everybody is doing the best that they can from where they are right now. Everybody's got different experiences, and everybody is really letting those experiences show through in their responses, in their reactions, the way they show up every day. So their experiences are going to dictate to a strong degree how they are going to interact with you. And not only that, if you take their experiences and you overlay that with their fears, right? If you compound those two together, you're going to get a character that is, it is what it is. And it's going to evolve in its own time, but it is where it is what it is, and it is where it is. So if you think about that, and just think that we can turn this back on ourselves too. There are things that we're afraid of. Perhaps someone took advantage of us long ago, and we really want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So maybe we preemptively do things that you may not really recognize it, but you may actually be doing things preemptively to keep yourself out of those situations. And this could be hurting you too. We just, you really have to, have to examine this on your own. But it could be things like avoiding certain types of, certain relationships. It could be avoiding certain types of circumstances. It could be avoiding certain types of environments, of opportunities that you otherwise could learn from. We avoid them because we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we have to perhaps go through the pain that we went through before. So our fears, right, can really dictate how we interact with people sometimes. We may shy away from certain interactions, dealing with, certain people with certain types of attitudes, things like that, just because of the fears that we have. So everyone has these aspects of their character, and it really comes out in interaction. But back to being disappointed, keep that in mind, because you may be experiencing someone else's reaction from your experiences and your fears, and maybe you don't have the same fears. So you're going into a situation expecting a certain response, and all of a sudden someone hits you with something and you're like, I can't believe they said that. I can't believe they feel that way. I can't believe that they don't see that this is unfair, right? So it could be any of those things. But think about that for a moment. That's something I really want people to understand here today, and I really want you to think about that and give it a moment too. It's kind of heavy, because we're used to going into something, and if we disagree, obviously someone's right and someone's wrong, and then we want to either get upset or retaliate or wish the worst on someone. All of this is not really helpful if we don't really understand what is happening and how we can really learn and grow from it. And that's what I really want to focus on today. So step one is, when you have these situations, when you find yourself frustrated, when you find yourself disappointed, when you find yourself just really just blown aback by the way someone acts, let it burn for a minute. I'll say that again. Let it burn for a minute. Let it hurt. Feel that. Don't run away from it, because that needs to be addressed. It needs to be processed. And it's not comfortable, but it's not forever. It's not forever. So sit with that pain. Sit with that pain and calm yourself. Try to center yourself without losing focus on that pain. Okay, that's very important. It's very important. The next thing you want to do is really start that process of understanding why it hurts so bad. Why does it hurt so bad? You've got to really take the time to examine that. If you don't, it is a wasted opportunity to really understand yourself better and to see where you can take that experience and grow from it and use it to your advantage and leverage it. And yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can do that. So think about that. Think about why it hurts so bad, and then you can start the healing process. And that starts with processing, of course, those thoughts and those emotions that you're dealing with. Now, I recommend going back to a previous episode, one of the Manifest Your Greatness episodes, entitled 7 Tips to Help You Overcome Self-Destructive Behavior. That's a really good one that goes through a number of great tips to help you center yourself and to remind yourself that you are okay. You are okay. You are going through an experience in this body, and it's happening in this moment, but you will get through it. You are okay. And that'll really help you center yourself and be able to really process this circumstance that you're going through, these emotions, these feelings that you're going through. Okay. So once you're centered and you've identified why this hurts so bad, you need to understand what you can do with that experience, how you're going to leverage that experience. Because if you don't, then all that pain, all that disappointment, and all that frustration was wasted. Okay, this is an opportunity to take something that really hurt and turn it into an opportunity to grow from. And it is these experiences, the ones that hit you the hardest, that have perhaps some of the deepest lessons in them. Okay, now these same experiences can make or break people. The same person could have two completely different reactions to something like this. When they run into a situation, they find themselves just completely surprised by someone that they trusted, basically, disappointing them, perhaps betraying them. This can hurt, and this can really, really affect people going forward. Now, I want you also to think about something else, that you can take that same situation and have it happen to two different people. One person will let it overcome them and will use it they will use it to help them justify where everything in their life is not going the way that it should, and it'll become another brick that they have to carry, another burden that they have to put on their shoulders, another weight they've got to carry with them forward, and that's going to slow them down in their process to growth, while someone else can take that same experience and say, wow, I definitely don't want to be like that, or I see why this really hurt, and I want to make sure that I never treat someone else the way this person treated me. And you use it to grow, you use it to become a more genuine person, you use it to continue to reach out, and you can use it to continue to grow, to work towards becoming your better self. Same experience, two completely different reactions, and that's very important. So, and I also want you to remember that you get disappointed sometimes when people betray you, when people do things that you just really can't believe that they would do to you. You've done this to other people too, right? We all have. We all have. And it may have been intentional, in which case you probably remember and you're thinking right now, yeah, that was pretty rough. I shouldn't have done that. I wish I could atone for that. I wish I could do something about it now. You know what? You still can. So let's think about ourselves for a second here too. You can still reach out and you can still tell someone that what you did, you apologize for, and that you now realize that you betrayed them, or that you completely took advantage of their trust, or whatever it was. If you know you did it, you still have an opportunity. Use that. Use that. It's not about doing it just to feel good. It's not about doing it just because, oh yeah, I recognize it and I'm gonna get this off my chest and feel better about myself. You are carrying this weight. And I talk about this in other episodes that I have on forgiveness, but you are carrying this weight, and you know it's something that's really bugging you deep inside, but you just keep carrying it anyway, right? You keep carrying it anyway. So if you reach out to that person and you let them know if it's possible, if it's not possible to get on a phone call with them, or let them know face to face, send them whatever you can with your thoughts, right? Be intentional, send them that intent. But we do this too. And I think the harder part is the unintentional, right? Sometimes we do things we don't even recognize it, and people get hurt and we don't know why. And this goes all the way back to the beginning, what I was saying, how everyone is showing up and doing the best that they can based on where they are in their own evolutionary cycle in terms of growth, and they're leveraging their own experiences, and their fears are superimposed on that, right? So we're all dealing with this. Everyone is. Now, this is about what other people have done and how to help you process that. So my challenge for you today is to think of a recent transgression against you, something that really hurt, And I want you to think about it, and I want you to let it hurt a little bit, and I want you to work on processing it. I want you to understand why it hurt, and then I want you to understand what you can leverage from that experience. This isn't about being weak. This isn't about turning the other cheek. This is about growth. This is about your own growth. If you can take that experience and you can ball it up into the hardest material that you can think of, and you can drop it on the ground and you can stand on it, it's going to get you one step higher, one step further towards your goal. And you're not going to be carrying that with you. You're going to be standing on it. You're going to be using it for leverage. You're going to be using it for support. So take a moment, think about an instance that recently that you've gone through like that, and process it and change it into something that you can actually leverage to grow from. Don't forget it. Don't dismiss it. Take it on, process it, and grow with it. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, and I look forward to spending time with you again on an episode in the near future.